Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
It was just another ordinary Monday morning as I boarded the 8:15 a.m. train to work. Little did I know that this seemingly routine commute would turn into a wild ride that I will be sharing on r/entitled people later that evening. I settled into my usual window seat, coffee in hand, and started scrolling through my phone, mentally preparing for the day ahead. The train was surprisingly empty, and I was enjoying the rare moment of peace when the train door slid open and in marched a man who looked like he had just escaped from a circus. He wore a mismatched suit, his tie askew, and his hair disheveled as if he had just wrestled with a tornado. His eyes darted around the carriage, locking onto me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Ignoring the available seats, he marched straight towards me and declared, "Excuse me, but I need this seat. It's reserved for important people." I looked around the almost empty train, baffled by his claim. There are plenty of empty seats. Help yourself." The entitled lunatic huffed and plopped down next to me, invading my personal space. "I demand the window seat. It's my right as a superior being." Oh, wow. I rolled my eyes, not in the mood for a confrontation so early in the day. "Look, buddy, just take any seat you want, okay? Just leave me alone." He scoffed. "You commoners never understand. This world revolves around people like me. Now shuffle to another seat, and don't make a fuss." I decided it was best to ignore him and resumed scrolling through my phone, hoping he'd get the hint. But of course, that wasn't in the cards for today's adventure. As the train pulled out of the station, the entitled lunatic leaned over and peered at my screen. "What are you looking at? Is that some peasant entertainment?" I sighed. "It's just my social media. Mind your own business." He leaned back, muttering about the degradation of society under his press. I tried to focus on my phone, but his ranting became increasingly louder, drawing the attention of other passengers. An elderly woman sitting across from us finally spoke up. "Excuse me, sir. Could you keep it down? Some of us are trying to enjoy a peaceful journey here." The entitled man shot her a disdainful look. "Silence, old woman. I'm on a mission to restore order, and you will witness greatness today." I exchanged puzzled looks with the other passengers, wondering what on earth this guy was talking about. The train continued its journey, and I prayed for the next station to come quickly. Suddenly, the entitled lunatic jumped to his feet, shouting, "Attention everyone! I'm taking control of this train. Bow down to your new leader." People exchanged nervous looks, unsure if this was some bizarre prank or if we were dealing with a genuine lunatic. The train conductor emerged from the cabin, looking equally perplexed. "What's going on here?" he asked. The entitled lunatic pointed dramatically at me. "This person insulted me and disrespected my authority. I demand justice." The conductor looked at me, then back at the lunatic, clearly unimpressed. "Sir, this is a public train. You can't just hijack it because someone hurt your feelings. Sit down and behave, or I will have to call the authorities." "Sit down and behave, or I'll have to call the authorities." But the lunatic wasn't one to back down. "You dare to defy me? I'm the chosen one. I will not tolerate insolence." I exchanged a look with the elderly woman, who rolled her eyes at this point. The conductor reached for his radio, preparing to call for help. In a fit of rage, the entitled lunatic lunged at the conductor, trying to snatch the radio from his hands. Chaos erupted as passengers screamed and the train jolted with a sudden movement. "Stop this madness!" the elderly woman shouted, standing up and smacking the entitled lunatic with her handbag. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. The situation escalated rapidly, and I knew it was time to take action. I grabbed my phone and discreetly dialed the emergency number while keeping an eye on the unfolding chaos. The lunatic continued his rampage, now wrestling with the elderly woman for control of her handbag. My conductor managed to call for help, and we were informed that law enforcement would meet the train at the next station. As the train approached the platform, the entitled lunatic, seemingly unfazed by the impending consequences, declared, "This is just the beginning. The world will bow before my greatness." Sure enough, as the train came to a halt, police officers stormed in, accompanied by station security. The entitled lunatic put up a feeble resistance before being restrained and escorted off the train, all while shouting about his imagined superiority. The passengers erupted into relief and laughter, and the conductor apologized for the disturbance and thanked me for alerting the authorities. As the police led the entitled lunatic away in handcuffs, he turned to me and snarled, "You may have won this battle, but mark my words, I'll be back, and the world will know my name." I couldn't help but chuckle. What kind of movies has he been watching? So this happened a few years ago, and I will be vague since I'm still not sure if the dust has fully settled from this fiasco yet. At my former company, I was a secretary for a small improvement team that would meet monthly to discuss issues within a company and brainstorm ways to fix them. Something you need to know about me is that I was given this role because people know that I'm meticulous at keeping records due to HR-related issues I had at a previous place of employment. I don't think my boss realized that this careful record-keeping applied to her as well, especially when she appointed me to be secretary of this little committee. But I digress. I was a model employee, and I went above and beyond what was asked, as were many others in my department, but we were still having customer complaints and dealt with regular safety issues due to the company at large and through no fault of our own. When we brought these concerns to our boss's attention, emails were left unread, and during in-person exchanges, we were called whiny, needy, and were told that we needed to just deal with it. Whatever the issue, from items being stolen by customers to people being unhappy with the procedures the boss had set down for us to follow, it was always made to somehow be our fault. When we sought support from other departments, we were met with cold indifference, since the boss was great to them and we must be exaggerating the things she said to us. Well, during an improvement meeting at the end of the fiscal year, it came to a head. Myself and a couple of my team members dug our heels in and were insistent about the unresolved issues the boss refused to acknowledge. She finally went off on us. She told us everyone was incompetent, didn't deserve our jobs, and that maybe customers would like us more if we were more likable. When people pressed her on safety issues, she continued to reiterate that we would just have to deal with it, and that if someone was going to die, they already would have, right? I, as a secretary, did my duty and took notes of all that happened over the course of that meeting. I usually did bullet points, but that night I was feeling a little more thorough, so I wrote down words. Every word that was said, every hateful comment, denial of accountability, and idle threat was recorded in black and white. Now, a second part of my job was to distribute the notes from the improvement meeting to the rest of the company. So, come the next morning, I ran about 100 copies of the transcript of the meeting and hand-delivered them to every single department in the building. And things blew up. People from other departments who had attended the meeting were able to verify that everything I had typed up had really been said. Folks were mad, threatening to quit, refusing to do their normal duties, browsing Indeed during work, and so on. My boss's boss, who worked at headquarters, so I didn't get the opportunity to hand her a copy, got wind of these meeting minutes only a few hours after I had handed them out, and had an hour-long off-the-record conversation with me about all the safety issues I had documented, all the concerns I had submitted to management in writing, and all the records I had regarding my boss's inaction. She was very grateful for the 100 pages of documentation I sent over and thanked me for my time. The day after I unleashed Pandora's box, I put in my 2 weeks' notice, took a new job, and pieced out to greener pastures. At first, it seemed like things were calming down after I left, but the following year, the company did not renew my boss's contract. I still feel a bit bad because I wasn't trying to get her fired or ruin her life. I was just desperate for some accountability thrown her way to create some positive change in the company. But at the end of the day, I just did what she had asked me to do. So a new grocery store opened up in our relatively small town early this summer. I've literally only been in it once, grand opening, before this story takes place because it's halfway downtown and I'm a rural resident who would much rather shop at a different location, which is literally the first store upon coming into town. Because of this, I had absolutely no recollection of the employee uniforms, or else would have selected my clothes a touch differently. Well, I walked in with black dress pants, but they were pretty wear and tear along the bottom because everything is either slightly too long or way too short for me and I never get around to hemming my pants, so they are usually questionable 5 or 6 months down the line. On top of this, I was wearing a light fleece jacket flag from my workplace and had the company logo on the front. When I shop, I typically am focused on what I'm doing. I don't even stray my gaze away at other people outside of a peripheral "are we going to be each other's way?" and the like. So onwards, I'm sizing up something I'm interested in and start doing math in my head with a little aid of hand gestures. It's kind of like pencil paper math. The way I envision it, using the blank air to write. I know it's weird, but it works for me. While comparing my needs and wants versus my budget in the freezer foods department, I heard a small hey behind me. Sounded like it was a bit far off, and since anyone who knows me knows to be loud, hearing loss runs in the family, so I'm basically 10 or less years off from needing hearing aids, barring high-pitched noises, which you'd think I was a dog with how they bring me to my knees. Or specifically call my name. Imagined it was none of my dang business. A slightly frustrated "excuse me" followed a few seconds later. I honest to God thought at that moment, geez, would you just help her? I don't want to hear her annoying tone. I was not in the best of mood, so a lot of stupid things would set me off. Finally, the back of my jacket was being bold. What the hell? I whip around, shrugging off the hand that held me, and there is this woman, somewhere along in her 40s or so, and about a half foot taller than me. So I wound up staring in the wrong place if you catch my drift. She was definitely dressed for summer. After looking up, I'm 5'7", pushing 5'8", so she was fairly taller than me, and catching a death glare. She started spouting off how rude I was for not paying attention, and I should even be reported for ogling her breasts. She was wearing denim shorts, a bikini top which her areolae were sticking out of, and a super thin white shirt that wasn't buttoned up. Oh boy, awkward. I can't recall exactly what she wanted, looking for a specific product, I know that much. But the condescending tone pretty much made everything she said nothing more than static noise as my anger rose and rose and rose. I finally interrupted her and said, "Look, you dingleberry witch. I don't work here, so leave me the hell alone." I was about to walk away, but then she grabbed me, lifted me by my jacket, and pushed me up against the freezer door up about a foot, so I'm dangling my footsies in the air. Now legitimately scared, the anger flowing down and out of me instantly. She's going to kill me. She leans in and she starts barking about what a pathetic piece of crap I am, and I'm gonna be fired and charged for sexual harassment, and that a loser like I am is gonna die alone because no one likes fatties. I'm overweight but not grossly obese like Jabba the Hutt. More of a, my general figure doesn't really change shape no matter how much weight I lose. Unexpectedly, she backs up suddenly and drops me. I don't quite catch the floor, tripping and stumbling along the aisle. My shoulders taking the brunt of it. I had enough senses to control how I felt. Well, lucky me, sarcasm, she got scared because an employee driving a pallet comes around the corner, and just as I'm picking myself up off the floor, she asks if I'm alright. Fairly confused about what's going on, I limp over, turn around, and point to the now fleeing entitled woman going around the opposite end of the aisle and tell her that that woman assaulted me and to call the police. She panically tells me to just stay there and sprints toward the front of the store. The freezer department is isolated as the farthest section of the store. I'm stubborn and disregard staying there and making my way to the front. It takes a few solid minutes, and along the way I hear a lot of commotion. By the time I see anything, the manager is standing in front of the exit, apparently locked. Automatic doors, so they weren't opening, and she was quaking all sorts of crap. Other customers see me and rush over to see if I'm okay, and this crazy freaking lady Just death glares at me again and calls back that I'm just faking it and that I was a disgusting pig who was trying to take out her breasts. The manager speaks up and says, well, the police can look over the tapes to see for themselves. Well, the blood drained out of that woman so fast everyone instantly knew she was full of it. About 15 minutes later, the police arrived and spent another half hour doing all the procedure stuff, asking questions and making statements. They did review the tapes, of course, and asked if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes. They hauled her off later, and the manager gave me a $250 gift card. That was definitely a win. I, female 28, am with my partner, male 28, and together we have an almost 2-year-old. When my sister-in-law 32 had her child, I offered to watch her child while she got back into work because I understand it's hard leaving your small baby in a daycare. This was never intended to be a long-term, but a nice gesture for myself as I don't charge her. However, I am now pregnant again with my second child. I'm 3 months pregnant and struggling with emotions and morning sickness. I can barely be present for my 2-year-old, nonetheless watching my child and along with her almost 1-year-old. Her child cries a lot due to teething, and I'm not sure how to soothe her as she doesn't nap well and is a generally fussy baby compared to my child. I'm at my wits' end and have cried to my partner multiple times about how emotionally draining it is to watch both. I mentioned to my sister-in-law that they need to find childcare as well as my partner, and he said that my sister-in-law asked to bear with them while they find a place, but mentioned she thinks she may have found a place. That was a month ago. So now I'm growing impatient and annoyed as I feel as though I'm struggling mentally and nobody seems to care even though I have made it apparent and how much of a burden it is for me. If that was my child, I would have found a place within a week or two. However, I'm at a loss of how to bring it up again without appearing rude, and my partner says to be patient, as he's sure it's almost done, but I argue how he would know that when there seems to be no end date in sight. If I bring it up again, would I be the jerk? And should I wait another month? Please help. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, not the jerk. She's the one being rude because you already told her that they need to find childcare and they still haven't a month later. It's time to be firm and clear, and if they consider that rude, oh well. Quote, I know finding childcare is difficult, but it's been a month since I brought it up. This'll be my last week watching your daughter. I hope you understand. Another commenter adds, not the jerk. Most of these people kept telling you to be patient, but neither of them is the one with the problem. They are both telling you to be okay with this problem. I mean, basically, they don't have standing to tell you to be patient, especially when the baby's parents are not paying you for this.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.